Okay, let's see, chairperson's statement, this meeting's being recorded by the Board of Assessors. Anyone else is doing the same, notify the chair at this time. So we'll call the meeting to order at 4:11. And roll call of members,
Randall, present.
Jeff, present.
and Jim here. Previous minutes,
I move we approve the previous meeting minutes.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, there we go. Okay, I think that's it. Cool.
We can maybe,
Wait a minute,
What?
our meeting,
yes,
it's supposed to be televised.
yeah,
Do we start it?
yeah.
I don't see any participants.
Well, I don't either. There may be.
Well, usually we have something there
Why don't
that
you
shows
go
that we're in the meeting.
I joined.
You started, you joined? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I
it's
said
a
just
Board of
look.
Assessors meeting, but
You can hit the participants button and just verify that there's only one participant.
participate, yeah, there's only one. I
Okay.
Okay,
And
I was just concerned. I make sure that
Good
we're
concern.
good.
adhering to our policies for the public.
Can I suggest or move as appropriate that public comment to the end because we don't have anyone right now?
Sure.
I, the second,
Yep.
all in favor?
Aye. Okay. All right, but I will read this. Well, I won't bother with the statement. Nobody shows up.
Mhm.
Okay, new business, office update, web pro, building permits.
Excise weeks?
Yeah, that's number two.
Oh, okay, never mind. So number one is what, office update?
Yeah, web pro.
Working on Web Pro. It's not that in the permit module, or we're still engaged with Catalyst. Fernando is working on everything. So I think that the Web Pro piece of it, they got in touch with me and asked me for a statement that was going to be on the, like, when you go in, there's like a disclaimer sort of,
Oh, yeah.
what this is for. Basically said that we're, making this available to the public to be able to search, related properties, because it doesn't really, you can go, but it doesn't, you can go into a property once you see it in Web Pro, but it doesn't really give you a property record card.
Right.
It gives you partial information, but really what we have on our GIS is a lot more.
More complete.
But it gives you options to search in ways that you can't otherwise.
On the GIS, right?
And so in combining, using the two, someone should be able to get a comparable property if they were using Web Pro to find comparables using whatever search criteria above and beyond the address.
So they could search for type of house, number of rooms.
I think so. Let's see.
In terms of that statement, perhaps some other community which already has Web Pro has a statement that we could look at.
That's exactly what I did.
Oh, you already did that?
Yeah, and that's, I already updated it.
Already updated. Box checked.
Actually, it was,
I think that's worthy of a news release.
so we have it
Great.
in Montgomery and there's the different things. So yeah, there's parcel owner, street name, year built, you can search by number of beds, lot size, neighborhood. There's all these different things you can search by. And
Fantastic.
so it's more flexible. It has more flexibility. And then, okay, let's see. It basically says down here, here's the property assessment, or the statement.
So
And so I sort of building off of this,
Yeah.
customize a little, because one thing I'm laughing about here is ownership says, although ownership information has been omitted from this website, it can be accessed because my fellow board member at the time in Montgomery, and even I, when we first started, were like, hey, no one needs to know how many bathrooms I have in my house. And, I didn't understand things the way I do now. And then even further, once I did, and said, well, no, this is just the way it is. It's public information. And they still wanted to have the town vote on whether their information would be exposed or not, despite my assurances that that was just the norm. And
Yeah,
So anyway, we have customized ours. It doesn't say that. Ours is going to show the ownership
It
information.
should.
And I just kind of, so
And how can a town can't even vote to,
it's.
I can't do that. I mean, the
I know.
state, it's public. The GIS isn't even controlled by
I
us.
know.
It has all the property
In fact,
record cards
that
in it.
person is no longer on the board, I think.
All right,
So
on.
he didn't run in the last election. So I'm sure he's going to serve out his term. Then I don't know what they're going to do.
Can I
that's not your problem now.
So our meeting minutes are also public, right? They go on the
Yes.
website.
Yeah. They're on the
Can I suggest that we put a link to that Montgomery Web Pro site into our minutes so people can see?
Well, it's going to be available, we'll have our own soon.
Yeah.
So I'd rather not confuse them with Montgomery,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
All right.
I'm hoping that this is like, next week,
Oh, okay.
because this should be pretty easy.
Well,
It's just basically they give us a link to their website where our information, so it's not, I don't know, they make it more complicated so they can charge us more or tell us it is.
Yeah. You ought to have that as a separate link, in addition to the property card
So you
GIS.
want me to do just like a print screen and include it?
yeah.
Maybe
I
that-
wonder if I can get them.
Well, I wanted you to share it in this meeting, but then I didn't want to slow us down by having you log in and all blah, blah, blah. So I thought we could just put a link in the minutes. But,
All right. Yeah, speaking of minutes, there are gaps in the minutes. We haven't, we ought to make it complete. I think it was January and March. Those are the only things we have on the website. So.
Huh.
January, March for what?
Actually have the meeting minutes uploaded.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
the minutes exist.
Oh, no.
Well,
I
they're just not
understand. They're just not on the
Get
website.
on the website, I hear you.
Yeah.
Are they on the board page instead of the department page?
Yes, they are on the board page.
Yeah, okay.
And also on the Board of Assessor page, we ought to update the meeting times. And I think now that the charter has been approved.
Oh,
ought to-
that too.
Yeah, update that.
So can we send a list to Matt then?
Yeah.
I actually talked to Matt about putting some type of blurb out there or press release. While it was time, you could still get your nomination papers to remind the public that, hey, we have two positions that are, available this round because of the new
Right.
charter. So he did some type of release or is going to.
Okay.
So-
All right. Well, that's,
So yeah, whatever suggestions you have for Matt and updates to the website or to the board page,
yeah,
you
that's,
can pass those along.
yeah, those are minor things. Okay, I'll just type it up and send it. Also, under the assessor info, there are, there are 3 PDFs under the assessor info dropdown. And we ought to have consistent file names. That's all. They're minor things, but I'll put that in a note to Matt. Okay. Where were we on this?
Thanks for checking on that.
Yeah, well, I felt remiss in not doing so recently.
Okay.
But I always feel remiss for something.
So office update still.
Yes. We were,
So we are working
Building
on that
permits.
CPA situation, just sent out the additional about $4,100 worth of bills for CPA funds that were unfortunately omitted. And so we have revised the affected bills and given them 30 days from today to pay.
Wow, $4,100. That's a material amount.
Yeah, the largest one was 972.
Oh,
It's just someone that because of the way there were things set up in Munis, I assume that whoever was setting it up figured that those codes weren't going to be used, the class codes.
Yeah.
And I, realized or traced it to them. It took a while, but I was able to get a report of the bill file. And then so I could see exactly what was on the bills and then using formulas figured out, where we, what the affected accounts were, and they're all basically mixed use accounts. And
Yeah.
some of those mixed use things. And we got that straightened out now. And I talked to Stephen, the director of finance about, how is there, a threshold of dollar amount that we were going to pursue, and below that, we're just going to, what would be right for the next time. And so we had a certain cutoff, and that's why, so that's how we got the 40,000 or $4,097 and change out, as opposed to it was a little bit more, but it was just like chasing nickels and dimes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that would be one thing for the city budget, but for the CPA in particular, I mean, that's only a fraction of the city budget, obviously. So that $4,100 that's significant for CPA. I mean, that's part of a project.
Yeah, exactly. It could be a whole project depending on what it is, right?
Yeah. So yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Let's see.
But speaking of that, the getting a file out of the clerk's office so we can compare.
Oh, right. I sent you, but it wasn't a file. I think it's just a PDF that I got from them.
Really?
I think so. Yeah, I had sent you. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah.
I thought I sent it.
Because I can.
But yeah, let's
Okay. Excise weeks, we have a bunch of them, huh? Oh, and building permits onto property record cards through the permitting module. How are we there?
The permitting modules also, will take more time because it's integration
Okay,
that needs to be built.
and what about
We
the,
are working on that, and yeah, I'm hoping that we'll have the web pro well before we have the permit module. But I did ask because I was concerned that we haven't really entered into Patriot. We've been handling them externally. We haven't entered any of the permits in September of 23. So we're gonna be able to do them in bulk and catch up.
Yeah,
And that was-
module.
Yeah, that was my
Yes.
concern and that's why I was asking those questions about the module before I told Devin, okay, listen, we're not doing those. Because we just didn't have the time. There's too many other things that were more important.
And is that also how they get on the property record cards?
But that's exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, because whatever in the system is going to print out on the property record card. So yeah.
That's even more important because when people like Stephanie want to check because they're thinking that their neighbors are doing unpermitted work,
Exactly.
they should be able to go to the property record card for the neighbor and see whether the permit's there.
So bear in mind that that information won't be available until after December. So our 25 information, does have some stuff that's not there. But when we get to next year, in the next
Calendar year.
next snapshot of property record cards that we make available through the GIS, we'll have the updated information.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we get the module going before the end of the year.
Yeah, but it's really worth pursuing. And yeah, I'm really glad.
Yeah, and it's definitely, yeah, and it's gonna be more thorough this time too, because in the past, they were just looking at building permits only, and I'm asking for more. Because,
Because they matter.
yeah, exactly, because they matter, and sometimes, in my opinion, that's, you only find out about something because of one ethical contractor that got.
That's right. The electrician pulls the permit when the general didn't.
Yeah, they're like the general contractor, or whatever the case is, we don't know for sure, but we're just trying to make sure that we are doing our due diligence.
Extra good.
and we're having problems with Munis. And is that all squared away?
Yeah, well, so also one of the things we've been doing, or did yesterday, was a big training on the bill file. And so we did have some situations with it, or it was a nightmare because the previous year it really went so well. And with our new version of Patriot and newer version of Munis, everything just worked. And so that's why I was so disappointed when it came time for the actuals to have things that weren't functioning properly. And then having the service people just, we're just going to put a Band-Aid on it. And okay, well, now it's still broken. And so
It'll be broken next year.
right, and we're trying to well in advance iron everything out. And so we have a critical ticket in with the errors that we got as we went through in the test environment with the current bill file that's going to be used for the preliminary bills. And so we're trying to iron everything out well in advance. And usually my goal is to start working on it by the 10th. And have it turned over to the collector by the 15th. But Mandy had some time off scheduled, and so we're trying to get it done in advance so that she can leave without having it be an issue. And so by the 10th, I want to have that ready for her. And so we have, or, working in the test environment, and I'm a little disappointed that I got one reply from someone, they're marking this critical. And yet I got one reply in the mornings saying, hey, maybe this is supposed to be like that. And it's like, okay, well, did you even look at the attachment that I put that showed clearly what my issue was? And I still haven't heard back, although I haven't had to check it because I've been preoccupied with other things.
This is a separate, a separate company offers this software, and it used to be state-run, state-owned.
Yeah, it was basically bought out by this Tyler Technologies.
Uh,
And, I don't know what they're doing, but because it's working good. And then it seems like they made improvements to it and put a bunch of broken things back in by accident. And I'm not sure, but we're going to find out. And, between that and the personal property, because we needed what they refer to as a bridge built so that instead of our personal property file coming from Patriot, it's now coming from RRC. And so that's different in Munis, and Munis needs to adjust. If we were able to use different towns, bridge, but we want our own built. And it took the longest time for them to, confirm. I kept asking the support people, and they're like, oh, that's not us. You got to go through this other thing. And then they sent me instructions that didn't work. And then I went through and put something in, but it didn't seem like it was the right place. And so I asked for some help, and then it was like, okay, nobody's getting back to me. And so finally I kind of started getting a little anxious about it and let them understand that on the phone, that I wasn't gonna, take another instruction. It's like, I need someone to walk me through. I need to know, because you're telling me it takes a month to get this built. So this is like on the 10th, and now here's my goal of the 10th. I need this built by then. And so, let them know, okay. And then they finally sent me a link. It's like, okay, here's a link, and just press, number 2 on this, and then you're into the form you need to fill out. It's like, okay, why couldn't you have done that for me? When I asked originally in February.
Are other cities or towns using Munis?
Unfortunately for them, yes, they are.
Well,
I say that sarcastically.
well, but on the
Well,
other
yes.
hand, if we get everybody together, maybe the MAAO can
Isn't
coordinate.
Munis like a monopoly?
Munis was the state-owned billing system because they gave it to everyone when no one had billing systems.
Mhm.
And then they stopped supporting it, but everyone hung on to it. And then they said, okay, we're stopping supporting it, so you really should change. And then, of course, a bunch of people still hung on to it. And so they finally packaged it and sold it to the highest bidder. And now Tyler Tech, which is now Enterprise ERP, has the account, and they're developing it on the fly and have been for the last however many years. They're still developing it. And
Can I make a little request?
certainly,
At some point, can we make a plan to transition all this IT work to someone other than you?
oh,
Whether it's Adam or
So,
you're like, no.
yeah, it's
Just because I hate to see you, every single office update thing that you've talked about is IT. And I would rather you were talking about like catching people who have doing things with their property.
and so that is another thing. Adam has been working the list, and when, how soon we're nigh on the verge of unleashing him.
I gotta feel that there are way more important things, not more important. There are things that I gotta feel that someone else could be doing these IT things who don't have all of the knowledge and experience you have about assessing. So we could turf that to someone else
I think-
and let you do the real stuff.
How about you?
Huh?
You're a computer whiz.
I am no IT professional.
Well,
I think
we have capable personnel, and we're bringing them along as quickly as we can.
But it seems to me that if everybody's having problems with Munis, instead of having a bunch of small voices that may not be heard, we just put them all together. Can an MAO coordinate something like that?
That would be a big. I don't know. That's,
Hmm.
I haven't considered that,
Yeah.
but I don't know if that would help us at all.
Well, I don't either, but it seems to me that MAAO is in a position to advocate for us and also gather groups. And would it be okay if I write to Kathleen and?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah, absolutely.
all right. Excise weeks?
Okay, exercise weeks. And we've got a bunch. I'm just trying to keep them together by batch. And so Karen, we're supposed to have just one batch. We've been creating one almost every day.
I-
And so
I
we have to go review
really,
the
well,
process.
yeah, okay, because there was okay.
I mean, because we're gonna have to sign too many pieces of paper.
Yeah, right. And so what we try and do is just have one batch that goes from this meeting,
Right,
from tomorrow till the next meeting.
Okay.
And
okay.
Well, in the meantime, we will grudgingly sign lots of pieces of paper.
This is the.
No, it's- yes,
Don't want to.
I'll tell you, well,
Seriously, if we had another position, which I know we don't, it would be great to basically hire an IT person and just like be part of our department and just fight all the freaking IT battles all day.
oh, yeah. It's difficult. Because you're at the mercy of their support.
That's right. That is the biggest job of an IT person is to be on the phone with other IT people. And filling out request forms for each other. And yeah,
and they also have very effective gas masks so that they know when shit is being blown at them. Sorry. Okay.
that's the other thing.
Yeah,
I know it doesn't make sense to do the stamps now because we don't have our two new board members. But as soon as these elections are done and we know who the whole board is for next year,
Yeah, we should
it's
get
time
that.
to order those stamps.
Yeah.
That's so important. And make the board members, we will pay for our own stamps.
Oh,
Not be a city budget item. Just give us the link. Order our own stamp on Amazon.
you also need to get door knockers too. Didn't we talk about that? Was that Joe that was looking into that?
Door knockers?
That old?
yeah, well, oh,
What are we talking
So you knock on the door and it's a little tag you can put
Yeah.
on the door.
I know what a door knocker is.
Yeah, okay.
But what, oh, for the inspection.
Inspections, right?
Yes, yes, we need door knockers.
We all talked about it here and copycat seems to come to mind.
Yeah,
Also, I
they
think
have
it
good
was
prices.
Joe that was looking into it for us. Whatever happened.
Joe left.
Kind of asking, well, I know what happened.
Well, remember, I asked Copycat because when we were talking about doing the rental survey thing and doing little survey
Oh, right,
cards.
that's right.
Yeah, and they were cheap. They
Copycat.
were so cheap for like little,
Yeah.
single color cards like that.
Yeah.
Which a door knocker basically is.
Yeah, that's what we need. to help.
Yeah, it was extremely inexpensive.
That we have an example, so.
Copycat,
We did at
They're
one
about
point, I don't know.
30 feet from the door of town hall,
Should be easy enough to
across the street. Yeah.
Okay,
local. I like it.
Yeah, I used them when I was running for election. I used them to print all my door knockers.
Oh.
As it happens.
There we go.
where'd you get the Chewy? Was that from the co-op?
No, it's from Parthenon over in South Hadley.
I'm sorry, that's not on the agenda. That's not open meeting law. We can't talk about the roll.
Well, no, I mean, I like Chewy rolls.
You can't say that. That's not on the agenda.
That's right, we can't talk about you.
I can't even say that, Chuck, because it's not on the
That's right.
agenda.
I can't say like that.
Okay. Let's see, hardship exemption. I was looking, I looked in the law and 18 was just so abbreviated, I didn't think it really existed. But it does because there are two separate forms. There's clause 18 and clause 18A applications.
Does it sound like the tail wagging the dog?
I don't know, but why, I talked to you about this and I'd given you the IGR for
Yep.
18, that was from
Yep.
1988.
Yep.
And I thought we're gonna use that to develop
We are,
yeah, okay.
yeah,
Because we kind of have 18A
Yeah.
approved and in place.
But because the form exists, that convinced Jim that we definitely need to do
well,
an
no, I mean, I
Yeah, I mean,
knew there
clause
was some-
18 is what we've been granting and we haven't done a deferral yet. So it's great that we have a process or procedure for deferral.
have we been granting 18s?
Yes.
Yeah,
How many do we have?
We had three this year.
yeah. Remember, we talked about it. Those
I
weren't
thought we were
18As, those were 18s.
I
Because
thought,
they weren't deferrals, they were just giving money.
Right, we're just giving them $1,000.
well, you
Yeah.
know,
And that's why we need this policy in place that says, okay, it's a 3-year max. Because you've been getting it for more than 3 years, and that's why we're doing it for you only 1 more year, and that's it.
Bell is
okay.
ringing.
Well, it is, and I guess what I thought was, it was, it wasn't giving them some tax relief, it was giving them a full ride.
No,
No,
okay, I mean, it was a full ride on $1,000. I think what they're.
it's like $1,000.
It was to sort of match the senior exemption. And have it be like a stopgap or something that's gonna get them
Okay.
through till they're on the senior exemption,
All right.
but. The
Some of the
thing
people weren't
is that
close.
if you have a hardship situation, it shouldn't be a permanent hardship, and it's up to the city of Greenfield to supplement so you can stay in the house that you can't afford.
But,
And that's why it's a 3-year rule.
yeah, that's 18A, now
No,
18,
that's,
No, that's
yeah,
18.
18 also.
3 years? No.
Yes, I'm suggesting
Yeah.
that we adopt that with the 18. I'm not
Okay,
sure if it
okay.
says, I think it might say it in that old IGR
Again,
from 1988.
The 3 years is a little confusing. So for,
That's 18A.
for 18A, it's 3 years of deferral.
Right.
For 18, what we're proposing is that people can only get the free money, not a deferral, but the free money for a maximum of 3 years. It's different.
Right, so if you're
Okay.
needed for a 5th and 6th or 7th year, maybe you need to look at your situation and get into something that you can
Well,
afford.
to be fair, and that is what we should do, that's true. But just to be empathetic, we know that we have this crazy housing crisis here. And one of the primary categories of people who are impacted by this crisis are seniors who are in houses where they can't afford the property taxes and the maintenance anymore. And so the problem is, of course, that, and maybe not seniors, but older people, so they're not eligible for the senior exemption yet.
I think we're called
Maybe.
older adults these days.
Okay. So anyways, that's why this is a big problem, is because, like you say, people shouldn't be, if they're in this, if it's not a temporary situation, but it's long-term, they, shouldn't be applying for these 18s because they should just try and get out of the house. But the problem is that people can't get out of their house because they can't find an apartment. And even if they can't afford the rent of the apartment. I've had various specific people, including at some of those sessions, but also in other places, who have come up and they've been like, I can't afford to sell my house because even though I'll make a lot of money on the house,
Where do I go?
You're gonna lose it all when you reinvest into wherever you're gonna go.
yeah, whatever apartment, they can only afford like 3, 4, 5 years of rent.
Yeah, I don't know. It depends on, the situation, because I have seen where it's like, okay, this is a big house that, you live in a quarter of it.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. But even if they get $200,000-$300,000, rents are so high. If you can even get an apartment, which most people, I can't even get access to, even try to get into the apartment. The rents are so crazily high. I mean, we're talking 1 bedroom's like $1,700 a month. So you rapidly work down those 100, 200,000 or whatever you got from your house. It's not going to keep you for the 30 years you think you have left. So just to be empathetic as to why this is a big issue.
There's other things like Section 8 housing, that type of thing.
There's no vouchers, 10-year wait list for vouchers. Yeah, I'm telling you, this crisis for those of us
We
who are.
need to acknowledge that, I think, in our
Yeah.
procedure.
Yeah, I mean,
But
we still
need to
can't
have
help.
Something in writing so that we can show, okay,
Yeah.
this is our procedure or policy, and we're treating everyone the same way.
Yeah, I mean, we still can't really help. I mean, a few
Yeah.
years of $1,000 not going to fix that. But just to be empathetic as to why this is a problem.
I came across, there was a woman I talked to. She sold her house to a real estate investor who said she could stay in the house. Guess what? The rent's going up.
Yes,
And,
that's right.
and,
Can't afford the
and
rent.
this is kind of a reverse mortgage sort of
Yeah.
thing. And I'm wondering whether we ought to have a way of reviewing the terms and conditions of these things to protect our seniors.
Hire an attorney that will advise for a leasehold, 10-year
Yeah.
leasehold. Sounds like the attorney dropped the ball on that one.
Yeah, I mean, that's not really
I wonder
the
if that's
position of the
something that
assessors.
could, Somehow get
Do
paid for
that.
by CPA funds.
Yeah, well, there
I wonder
There
if that's
is-
the way that they can go, like if that's one of the avenues that can be, I have no idea, but
there is an organization here in town, a legal organization that does that. And unfortunately, they are terribly understaffed and don't have enough money. In fact, they lost a lot of federal grant money to keep those lawyers up. For anyone who's interested in all these things I just said and all these issues, Housing Greenfield, the Housing Greenfield meeting covers these issues every meet. So all the stuff I'm saying about the amounts and about the lawyers and all the stuff is covered there every time.
But I think what that suggests to me is that part of our clause 18 policy is, giving them a document that says, here are some of the options so that your hardship can be dealt with. If you've got a permanent hardship, you got to deal with it somehow. And here are some suggestions.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, they're not good.
Well,
People are just it's just a bad deal.
I mean, look, every city has people that are at the bottom of the barrel, no matter how big the barrel is.
Yeah, but these days, the bottom is getting bigger than the top.
It wobbles, but it does.
But the thing is that, those of us who actually own houses that we live in don't see what everyone else is dealing with.
Oh, no.
Because we don't have to renew our lease every year. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Well, I think when you drive downtown and you see the homeless population.
Oh, yeah, well, that's there was, I remember there was
Related,
a
but
housing
separate issue.
Greenfield meeting I was in last year where one of the attendees was a senior who recently become homeless, as they said, through no fault of their own. And that's been happening a lot. And it is a priority of this administration, this mayoral administration, to mitigate that. I don't think there's anything else we can do. But for people watching this recording, I want to let them know Housing Greenfield has a website. Karen, if you don't have the link, I can send it to you. And it's not a solution, but at least if people are just interested in what's happening, what's going on with their neighbors, that's where to go.
Okay, I'll draft something on clause 18 and I'll go back to that IGR.
Did you have that chart?
no, it's I'll show my desk. I haven't come up.
Chart.
You were talking about like a chart of the exemptions that we had.
Yeah.
Listing.
like CCON.
This is Seekonk?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I've got one from Moni. Oh, and this is 2 pages.
Well,
So, yeah, and so something similar, and the other one that he's gonna bring up is it's a little bit different, but it's along the same lines.
yeah,
And yeah, that's something that actually the appearance of the one that he's gonna bring up is closer to what you might be familiar with, or what they had in the book for the
The
201
201?
book. I
yeah,
think.
yeah.
Um,
I remember that. But I guess this, if we have a very brief summary of these are exemptions at a glance, let's say, and that probably ought to be a link on the website. So that somebody says, yeah, yep,
That's what he's got, it's not in color, but it's just like the same thing and it goes over all the different things and eligibility and the amounts and.
yeah, I might flip the thing.
Yeah, okay. I know what you're saying. But yeah, it looks like along the same lines. And so anyway, let's get a copy of that to Adam.
Okay.
And then he's got a copy of this one also, and we'll be able to develop our own.
Okay. I can work with him on that if he wants. Okay. And I think then that becomes an exemption overview, which is on the site.
Yeah, that'd be good. And something, like I said, they're encouraging all municipalities to do on the 200 course. And then you're seeing examples of assessors that are on top of the game.
Okay. All right. Moving on to old business.
Yeah, that update, the Ways and Means, we've got the information. Somebody needs to reach out to the mayor and remind her, because we're running out of time.
Okay.
Well, Councilor Brown contacted me. She was interested in that. And I let her know where we were at. So I'm hopeful that there are others who might be inquiring with the administration about where we're at on that.
The mayor basically needs to put forth a proposal.
Yes.
So, and I don't think she has done that yet, or she,
No. She's been concerned about other things.
undoubtedly.
Undoubtedly.
But I'm as chair, I can write to the mayor and tell her that here, summarizing once again, all of our recommendations, and then she has to weigh in and have the city attorney draft it so it's suitable for council action.
Yes.
So I'll take care of that. Okay. All right, I think that is it.
Let's see. Yep, and so.
Yeah, this,
He had his own example.
yeah, there was one from Seacon.
Seacon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and they cover a lot more exemptions, I think. Something, let me do a perplexity search to see if I can't dig up more statutory exemptions. Summaries, that is. Okay. So, I think we're done. Is there any other business?
All right, and seeing no members of the public attending, I guess that I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting, to close meeting.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
At
Okay.
4:48.